when you look at the house being built and the process of picking out everything, everything's about what it looks like. We are the first ones that ask a homeowner, how do you live in this space? How do you live in this house? It's a question that they just don't get during the rest of the design process.
The integrators sitting here next to me have plenty of experience working on projects just like yours. Not a luxury integrator like myself, so we can do a deep dive into not just what's available, but also what's been working, how you can make money from these products, how you can attract buyers with these products, and how you can do a better job of merchandising your homes. So with that, I'm going to allow these two guys to introduce themselves. So Tony, you want to say hello?
Sure. My name is Tony Pratte. I'm Director of Builder Contractor Relations and also Director of Production for the Sound Room in St. Louis, Missouri. Sound Room's been around for about 42 years. We started first as a locally owned electronics retailer, and then over time started doing more projects. They brought me in there to focus specifically on builders, and not just luxury builders, but also high volume, 100+ home communities, production builders like a lot of yourselves. I've been there for about 11 years. I love what I do, and I've kind of figured out kind of unlock the calculations of how to work with builders. So we hit your timelines while also giving the clients exactly what they want.
Yeah, my name is Nick Garcia. I'm the Senior Business Development Manager for HomePro. So we've been around for maybe 27 years this fall. Started out a small security company in Dallas, Texas, just pulling some security wires. And then it's funny, probably most of the stuff we've gotten into at this point, 27 years later, is probably nowhere where we expected to be, because it was usually by a builder like yourself that said, hey, can you do this as well? And we're like, yeah, sure, we can pull data wire, we can pull audio video. And so 27 years later, we're in 4 different markets. We'll wire somewhere around 29,000 homes this year. About 7 or 8 years ago, we got into the electrical space. So we're doing full electrical services for builders as well. So we'll hit somewhere around 12,000 roughs for high volt roughs. And then about a year and a half ago, we got into, again, this story of like being pulled into this space further and further, but outdoor living, which has been very cool and very exciting, and is really taking off for us.
Tony, you didn't mention roughly how many homes you're working in.
Oh, we're a lot smaller than you are. We do about 800 a year.
So I'm going to give you a quick overview of what we're going to be talking about today. Really what we want to drive home are a couple of points. They're all on the screen. You don't have to read them all, or I don't have to read them all to you. But the gist is we want to understand how technology sort of evolved outdoor spaces. So it's not just a patio with some pretty furniture anymore. There's a lot of technology built into all the different features that you're going to incorporate outside. We want to talk about some of those. We're not going to talk about the features themselves. We're going to talk about the impact it's had with these two gentlemen and their businesses, and how they've been able to use those features to sort of drive their sales and drive their business. There are some real world examples here, so we're going to have some great photographs of things to show you. And we're going to talk about some best practices, and then we're going to do a little session at the end where we're going to talk about some ideas to help you design and market these systems to your buyer. So here's some statistics that you can read. I thought some of these were pretty fascinating. So that 63% of new homes included a patio, which wasn't super surprising to me, but I was surprised at how many patios are supplanting decks. I assume that decks were still as popular as ever, and it seems, based on these statistics, that they're declining popularity. Have you seen that in your...
It really just depends on the lot. I mean, anytime we have a walkout lot, there's always a covered covered deck on it. Whereas if it's an in-grade, you'll see the covered patios. More and more people are doing a covered space for outside just so they can enjoy being outside more.
I kind of poked around, asked some purchasing folks, hey, cost-wise, what would it cost to add a covered patio versus finishing out media space? And the dollars per square foot I was getting on adding a media room finished out in an attic versus adding covered space was 3 to 4 times the amount in dollars per square foot. So the value is inherently in the outdoor space, because you can add a covered patio and say, wow, you have this blank canvas that you can add kitchens, TVs, speakers, cameras, things that people play with, entertain with, interact with every day.
I think we also saw a bit of a paradigm shift in St. Louis. I don't know if you saw the same thing in Texas, but COVID. With COVID,
too?
no, but what COVID did was it forced us to spend more time in our homes. So people started to look at what's the best place in my house to spend that time. And a lot of them chose outdoors.
So one of the bullet points here is about the transition between indoor and outdoor spaces. What are you seeing trend-wise? I know that in the old days, you'd have a door to the deck and you have your grill on the deck on the outside, and that was pretty much it. If you had a pair of speakers, you were pretty sophisticated. So what are you seeing in the properties and products you're working on now that's trending?
We're getting more pre-wire, especially with like a covered patio option. They might throw in, whether it's an additional 110 or a gas stub or camera pre-wires or stereo pre-wires, but we're seeing that included in that structural option rather than the structural option doesn't have any sort of wiring that, equipment can be tacked on after the fact, or even as what we call a spec package. So, that spec gets upgraded with whatever options that'll get thrown in on the patio as well. But we are seeing that being included more as on the structural option rather than just something added after the fact.
Yeah, the main thing we see a lot of is people prepping the space for TVs. So outdoor TVs are definitely more popular. They're definitely doing ceiling fans. So we have to kind of plan our speakers based on that, so they don't have the wobble and everything else. We are seeing camera pre-wires a lot. Outdoor sound systems are starting to become more prevalent. The landscape audio systems, so you don't just have a pair of speakers attached to the house. We're seeing a lot of that too.
So in the luxury market, I'm seeing a lot of panoramic doors, the ones that stack and slide and bifold and what have you, all the different processes. And what I've been seeing is there's a lot of contiguous space. So they're taking the audio and the video from inside, they're moving it outside. The Wi-Fi is being extended from inside to outside. So I'm seeing areas that are sort of an indoor and outdoor space. Is that trending in what you're doing too?
Texas is a tough market to do that in because there's probably, 3 months out of the year that we can probably open our indoor space to our outdoor space and comfortably live within both. But in those 3 months, it is great. And so we do have some friends and know some people that operate that way during those 3 months. And boy, howdy, it's pretty awesome. So I don't know that it's necessarily a common thing just because of the humidity, especially I'm in Houston. So
makes sense.
Even if it's mild outside, it still might be 100% humidity. So that's not the greatest feeling in the world. But there are things like, shade controls and things like that are becoming more popular, especially on the bayous and rivers and things like that people will drop their shades on their patios so that they can do that. Maybe it is cool outside, but they don't want mosquitoes and bugs coming in. And that's one way to kind of have the best of both worlds.
We are starting to see that. We jokingly call it the Florida rooms, where you can open up, the 4 doors and everything else. We're seeing it more on the luxury space. It's starting to bleed into the higher end of production homes. But I think over time, it'll be more and more prevalent because people do like the fact that it's just fully open.
So I thought the first one of these was a pretty cool stat. I'm not sure I believe it, but, it's Zillow, so it's got to be real, right? Adding an outdoor TV increases the average sale price of your home by almost $10,000. You guys sell TVs outside for $10,000?
Wow.
It's not just the TV.
Yeah, there's more to it. It is, especially in the production space, it is almost impossible to offer a TV to a homeowner and not get I can get that off of Amazon sort of thing. So in the Lux space, I think all day, every day, because that buyer wants someone to do it for them, plan it out, have all the extra bells and whistles. But we do offer packages for the production space that are more competitively priced, that have TVs in them, but it's not just a TV. It's a TV plus speakers plus, a receiver or something like that.
The way I read this was that it doesn't have to be a $10,000 TV installation. It just improves the value of the home or increases the value of the home by $10,000 just because you've got that entertainment space outside. Are you seeing that level of perceived value from your buyers, especially with outdoor video like that?
I would think so. Maybe not 10,000, but pretty close. Just because it gives it that additional entertainment area. People are gravitating toward the outdoor. So if it's ready to go, then they can see themselves, I'm going to move in, I'm going to watch the game this weekend, and I'm going to be outside drinking a beer and just enjoying life.
So do you think outdoor is as much, if not more of a focus now than maybe the indoor spaces in some cases?
Oh, I'd say more so now. I mean, just with the whole, value proposition we were talking earlier, there's more value in a patio space because it's a blank canvas, right? As a builder, if I have a structural option that has, maybe a camera pre-wire, a stereo pre-wire, gas stub, the buyer can then go in after the fact and spend whatever they want to really create that space that's theirs. So
You mentioned something about outdoor camera pre-wires being, I think, at the top of your list of things that people are purchasing. Can you dive into that a little bit?
Yeah. So I just pulled some product data over the last maybe 12 months, and I want to say it was north of like 5,500 camera pre-wires that we've done across the state in like a 12-month period. And it was the number one selected option by volume. Obviously, that's, camera pre-wire, you think, wow, it's not a huge dollar amount, but a lot of people want that. A lot of people see the value in putting cameras and protecting their property, especially if they're putting really expensive things outside, pools. I actually just built a really big tree house in my backyard around our trees. It's like 12 foot long by 7 foot wide, wraps this big tree. And my first thought was, I need to put a camera back there so I can, make sure the kids, because literally the second day, half our neighborhood was
In the treehouse?
in the treehouse playing Swiss Family Robinson. So,
Well, I would think also with security cameras, the big thing, if you're going to put in a pool, it's liability. If you're in a subdivision and you're putting a pool in, you want that camera back there because if something happens to a kid that was unsupervised, you can prove that it's not my fault.
I was going to ask that. Besides the pool, what are you focusing on with these cameras? What areas are you looking at? Is it the driveway in the front of the house? Is it the backyard? Are you putting them everywhere? What's the popular?
We've got like a 2-camera and a video doorbell package that we do with a lot of our builders. One camera is shooting where a potential pool will go, and then the other is kind of shooting down the driveway, just because they can see who's coming up to the door before they get to the door.
yeah, I would agree with that. I do think that we do see sometimes like the nanny cams, camera free wires inside, which sometimes feels a little weird, but
Creepy.
from personal experience, we had a nanny for our kids for a couple of years, and I put up cameras because I wanted to know what was happening. Okay, but it's also caught some. My wife says that we could probably win America's Funniest Home Video. some of the footage that's been caught, but
So we're going to go through the list of these things individually, but this is sort of what we came up with as the list of items that people sort of crave, for lack of a better word, in their outdoor spaces. There are a couple other things that you'll see on this that aren't necessarily on this list, but are relevant as we go through it. But I do want to address each of these and tell you what trends we're seeing with each of these product categories and how people are being successful in marketing and selling these services. So, Nick, this is one of your statistics, if you don't mind.
yeah, of course. So this isn't necessarily specific to outdoor technology or outdoor anything. It's just, hey, most buyers that come to the showroom are spending about $4,000 in revenue just on home tech, right? That obviously varies by price point and whatnot, but that's netting out to somewhere around $1,500 in profit to the builder on every home. So if you're a production builder, you do 1,000 homes, roughly 50% of those might come in. 1,500 times half of that, there's your profit per year, just in like simple low voltage, right? So yeah, it is a compelling because everyone writes the low volt category off as there's no one's buying anything. Well, we have a lot of data that says otherwise.
So, sorry, Jen, before you go ahead.
I find it interesting because we're so far away from each other geographically, yet 84% of all of my homes that I start every year have a base technology package that the builder puts in. And then that doesn't include any kind of, we have some old school builders that don't have any. So when their homeowners add technology, that doesn't include in that figure. But what we find is our average sale is around $4,100, $4,200 per house, very much like you. And our builders make 20% off of all of that right up off the top. So that's kind of how we do things. If it goes through the builder, they get a 20% rebate, plain and simple, because that's your carry cost. I like to tell my builders in St. Louis, we're one of the more heavily codified markets. Everything gets more expensive, yet I'm the one here that is the last frontier of profit. I'm here to make you money. That's my job. And that's the partnership, and it becomes very profitable and very successful.
I also think designers just typically don't want to deal with it. When you're talking to a new home sales counselor, flooring designer, etc., and no offense to them, they just don't understand the category, nor do they care to. They're really good at floors, countertops, cabinets, and they stick in that space.
Well, it's because our space is difficult.
Yeah.
And it can be complicated, and it's not simple. It's not every TV is wired the same way. We had that conversation, earlier this morning. Frame TVs are much different than a regular TV. And if you don't know that, you're going to steer your homeowner in the wrong direction.
So, Nick, you mentioned in this slide that's running through your showroom. Clearly, you have a design center / showroom that you bring your buyers or potential buyers to demonstrate this technology. Do you do that instead of model home systems, or do you do both? What's your strategy there?
It's funny you say that. We are exploring other avenues, but historically, having a brick-and-mortar space where buyers come through has been the biggest win for us. We're not having to spend extra dollars to retrofit a model or do anything extra. Most builders are adding some of the stuff there, but if you're talking in a model park, there could be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different models that you're having to retrofit, take care of, things like that we're already doing already. But there is stuff in the works where we're considering potentially, having a house out there that would be decked out, that we would control, that we would own, that there are certain builders that they want to handle everything in the model. But how cool would it be if we have a representative that says, hey, I'll just walk you over to next door and we can look at everything as if you were in our actual showroom. But yeah, we do have 4 showrooms across the state.
We have a 10,000 square foot retail showroom. It's always been in St. Louis. You put everything into the model. But over the last 5 or so years, because we have a 10,000 square foot showroom, builders are getting more sales and more money by having them come to us and seeing it versus putting it, even with discounts, putting it in every model can be very expensive. I mean, we all know that. So what they're doing now is they're putting what they need to work the model, whether it's a security system, whether it's internet, maybe a camera, maybe a little music, just for their staff. They don't worry about decking it out. And they just come over to our showroom. They get the full tour. They spend a couple hours with us, and it's sky's the limit. We're literally, our showrooms, it's Disneyland for electronics designers.
I'll say real quick on that. It's been a couple years since I pulled this, but there are builders that we do operate with in their showroom, not necessarily a model, but if they have an in-house showroom, and we might staff it based on volume. When we were comparing averages of, LV items, livable items sold in their showroom versus ours, it was close to double. Like the averages weren't very compelling.
Your showroom versus theirs was double?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we had that too. Our biggest builder client, they'll build a couple hundred homes a year, and they're starting to expand a little bit more regionally. What they did, they had their own space. We kind of took that relationship over from a company that went out of business. And we would meet in their design center, do everything. But when they built a new design center, because more of their clients had opted to come to our place, they just designed us out of their design center. And so everything's going to you. So
nice.
And that's what we preferred. And they found it more beneficial that way.
Yeah, we actually had a couple partners do the same. So I was like, okay, cool. Thank you. Awesome. Glad you're getting that extra space in your facility.
So do you think that improvement was because you do a better job in your own space, or is it because they're less distracted by other options that are outside the low voltage space?
I think it's both, because I remember many of meetings where, they're in there trying to figure out their low voltage, and all of a sudden, you know what, I got to wrap this up with my flooring
Right.
appointment, and they just disappear. It's like squirrel, that's what we sound.
Yeah, I would like to say it's because we do a really good job at that because I have the data to back it up. But I also think it was, in cases I was talking about, a point of necessity. They were growing and they needed the space. And they were like, oh, well, HomePro does a really good job. So let's throw them a bone. We're like, yes. Awesome.
All right, let's get into some product discussions and some category discussions. So outdoor TV is probably topping the list, I would imagine, for both of you in terms of actual dollars and interest. You want to elaborate on what you're doing, or maybe give us some examples of things that you're seeing and trends that you're finding and how this works for you?
Sure. Yeah. We actually just added to our 2025 options list an outdoor TV. Prior to that, we would just wire. If they wanted to get a TV, they could buy it from whoever they want after the fact, but we would wire for it, maybe even mount, things like that. But this year is first year that we've actually have options floated to our builder partners offering outdoor TV packages. So I don't think we've necessarily sold one yet because we're still working on getting those uploaded into our partner systems, but it's there. We're confident that it'll be a mainstay moving forward.
Why did you wait till 2025 to sell TVs? It seems like it would have been an easier thing to do earlier, no?
Yeah, TVs are just tough. They're just especially this is more in the production space.
Yep.
Lux is totally different scenario, but in the production space, buyers just shoot that down. When our cost for a TV is sometimes less than what we can go find it at Best Buy for, or I'm sorry, more than what we can go find it at Best Buy for. Buyers see that because we got to have our mark, builder has their mark. So it's just a lot of pass-through costs for something that is very price sensitive.
Yeah. So what we do is typically the TV is the one thing that we won't go through the builder with. And the builder understands this because he's not going to get 20% on TV. So, but in his mind, he understands everything else, the wiring, the mounting, the labor, he can. So we get all of that packaged, ready to go, and it becomes either bring your own TV or you can get one from us as you move in. We've had really good success with that.
Yeah.
We do a lot of outdoor TVs. Typically, if somebody wants to put an indoor TV outside, we get everything ready for them and just say, the rest is up to you.
It's just a big ticket item. Is that really the issue here?
Yeah.
Low margin, big ticket item. Is that what we're dealing with?
That's exactly.
It is a dual discussion though. And we try not to have it just because our partners, our biggest pitch is being able to provide them those additional revenue dollars. And it's hard to have that conversation with the buyer. And then if that gets back, so we try to separate it and say, hey, let's talk after close, and we'll just parlay that conversation down the line.
Where are the TVs going? Where are you putting these things?
A lot of times they'll have outdoor fireplace. So up above the outdoor fireplace. We have done, just like that giant lift one, a few of those. I've got a rather interesting story about inspections and a European lift that took months to get passed just because the manufacturer didn't have the right documentation for St. Louis County.
Nice.
Ooh, don't get me started on inspections.
My favorite outdoor speaker of all time, the Rock speaker.
Okay.
I'm kidding, obviously. This was the first outdoor speaker I installed, and it looks like a Rock. You'd never know it was a speaker, would you?
No.
But outdoor audio is kind of a big category, right?
Yes.
Give me an idea what you're doing, what the take rate looks like on outdoor audio. What is the source of music? How are they controlling it? Where the speakers go? What's the average ticket on what you're selling? And give me a summary on this.
Yeah, so we're typically positioning audio, video in kind of three categories. There's a pre-wire, which is just obviously stereo, 5.1, etc. What we call BYOA, or bring your own amp. So we'll do the speakers and the wire, and then the third is turnkey. Of those, the penetration that I was pulling, stereo pre-wire was definitely in the top 5. I think 5.1 shortly followed after that. And then somewhere in the 11 or 12 spot was the bring your own amp. So there's specifically for the production buyers, there is a lot of desire to not only pre-wire for it, but to also hey, put the speakers in, put the wire in, but I'll go to Best Buy or I'll go to Amazon and I'll do my own amplifier.
We're seeing a lot more of the discrete landscape style. I would say that bottom middle picture right there. We're seeing a lot more of that. It's more popular. We're also finding like 360-degree speakers are becoming very popular in the production space. Only problem with those is make sure if a client is doing that, they actually have landscaping back there. Otherwise, they'll be getting the letters from the lawyers representing multiple homeowners saying your stuff is too loud.
Oh boy.
Yeah. We're getting into Coastal Source. That's like a new vendor of ours we're bringing in. We have one area dedicated to outdoor speakers and outdoor music in our showroom, which shows just about every one of those speakers that you have on that slide. So people can kind of see them all together and decide which one they like the best.
We take a maybe slightly different approach. More, again, I probably said this a lot, but more for the production space. Production builders typically tend to not like to have a ton of options. And so where we shine is we say, hey, we're going to say this package is brand agnostic. So that allows us to pivot whenever there's COVID times and shipping and supply chain goes crazy. So we have the ability to shift, but not necessarily have to update any marketing materials, things like that. Still using quality products, but we typically stick more towards that top right corner for outdoor speakers. And then last year we did layer in some landscaping speakers as well. So that's another new option, especially with the rollout of our outdoor living division.
One of the things that's important to me is differentiation and little tweaks to design, little tweaks to product categories to make it a little bit nicer. So Tony, I've got these slides. I know you sell Sonance speakers, I believe. I don't make Sonance commercial, but this series of the next, I think 3 or 4 images, kind of, you want to talk through those?
Sure. Basically you have your basic outdoor patio speakers that every production builder is familiar with. They just kind of sit out there. They're white, go up in the eave and point music at you. Now, if you use the black one, they don't stick out as much. They kind of blend a little bit better into the colors of the house. Same quality, obviously. It's just different color. So these are the wedge speakers. This is standard, just a little bit of an upgrade, but they blend in. You don't even know they're there, and they sound phenomenal. This is the James wedge. I see more of these in custom homes right now, but I do think this is something as price comes down, because over time price will come down. More and more production home builders will be offering these to their clients.
Yeah, I think this is another example of something that if I was given a choice and money wasn't an issue, They're the same price, it would be obvious that this would be the choice I would want to make. But it is more expensive now. But I do think there are opportunities, especially in model homes, to sell upgrades like this.
Oh, yeah.
All right, here, let's move on to the next category. We talked briefly about landscape lighting. Nick, I think you said that it's on the roadmap and maybe not part of your offering quite yet.
Yeah, there's definitely some stuff that we dabble in. A lot of it is just what landscape lighting is available to offer by the builder, because in a lot of cases we're not the electrician and we don't do a ton of low volt lighting. So if there's any sort of low volt landscape lighting, we don't do it. But we are dipping our toe into that pool with Jasco's. Jasco's been a great partner there and showing us some cool stuff when it comes to like the under eave lighting, even their cafe lights that change colors and being able to control it. That's pretty cool. Sets the mood in certain areas. That's kind of the stuff that the low volt side is kind of toeing into versus electrical.
Like Nick said, we're starting to get into this. Lighting is like our next frontier for custom integrators. Because it is low voltage, we can do it based on our licenses in St. Louis. We do show this in our outdoor living area, so people understand we do it. Typically, right now, unless it's a custom builder, we're not necessarily going through the builder because they don't want to mess with it yet. The more we do it, the better we get at it. Then they'll be like, okay, let us know when you're ready. We never want to bring anything to the builder that we're not the best at, just because we have to respect their timelines. And we know that every day you don't close on that house, well, that costs you money. So we don't want to be the one to cost you an extra 3 days of interest carry because we're waiting on a transformer for a low voltage light, for outside.
What about consumer demand? I mean, I know in the luxury space where I do most of my work, it's on every project I work on.
Mm-hmm.
I assume you're seeing this, whether you're doing it or not. You're seeing this as a trend,
I mean, I don't have any sort of stat to back this up, but I mean, if you show a house in a neighborhood at night with lighting versus without lighting, I mean, there's definite perceived value. Like driving around our neighborhood with either soffit lights or the under eave that's kind of on and dimly lit, or even just some like little lights right there in the garden that are kind of showing up. Like that stuff is, people see the value in it. People see, oh wow, that looks really pretty. People are drawn to that. So that, it's there.
Well, the demand's there. If it wasn't, we wouldn't get into it. Plain and simple.
And I think it's becoming more affordable. I mean, I know that, Nick, I think this is one of your slides. I think this is the Jasco stuff you were talking about.
Yep.
It certainly seems like it's becoming more and more affordable.
Most definitely. Yeah. Jasco, their, whole pitch is in affordability compared to, where else you can get it. But there are cool stuff where it does integrate. So we work with alarm.com. Shout out to those guys out there. But we can work with them and create integrations with some of these lighting solutions to create an ecosystem of products versus, hey, download this app for that, download this app for that, and now you have 12 apps on your phone.
So this is something that we talked about in our sort of lead into this event. We were talking about outdoor tech, and Nick threw outdoor kitchens at me, and I was a little surprised by the commentary that the low voltage integrator is now doing outdoor kitchens. So tell me maybe how you evolved into that and where the tech sort of ties into this solution.
Yeah, and it's probably more an umbrella of products, right? I think I told you before, there's probably nothing off limits for the outside. I think there's probably more stuff that you could throw that is currently on our board of, hey, what is next versus what's not on there. So outdoor kitchens are definitely something that we are bought into. We're moving forward with. We're already installed, I want to say, in 10 models across Texas. So that option is live with a handful of our builders. In terms of adding value, we're going with products that are lifetime warranty. The cabinetry we use, we literally joke, you can pass these kitchens down because the warranty is transferable, it's lifetime. So I want to say in the factory in Florida, where I guess they're from, I think they're from Orlando. They have a little board that is submerged in water, and I think they told me it's been there for 2 or 3 years, and it does not warp, not changed. So it is an awesome product. We love being able to put our name behind it and say, hey, this is going to work better than maybe a stone facade that you might have your bricker put in, but it's a little bit of a niche right now because builders, in order to do outdoor kitchens, they got to reach out to 5 different people to do it, or find a turnkey vendor, which turnkey vendors to do that are really tough. So we're already seeing the buyers anyways when they come to the showroom. So we might as well put an outdoor kitchen in there, and they see it and they're like, hey, I want that. How do I get that? And we're like, hey, can we add this option? So builders are making just as much mark on it or more than they were on low volt. So all we're doing is seeing revenues jump up for both of us.
And you're rolling tech in like as an indoor kitchen. I mean, I see under cabinet lighting or sort of toe kick lighting there. I see a TV in one of those images. Excuse me.
Yeah, that's right. So everything that you can do inside with these cabinets, you can also do outside, right? So the toe kick lighting, putting a TV above it, like being able to work and, sit around and, drink a beer or whatever, have the game going. So all that stuff plays into and works well together. Adding in shades, adding in lighting, all that stuff we would say is more of a family or a suite of products that works together rather than independently.
So Tony, are you now inspired to get into the outdoor kitchen business?
I'm not, but our president will most likely be. If I showed this slide and say, yeah, this is what the integrator in Texas was doing that I was on the panel with, they're going to say, oh, that's a good idea.
Well, I mean, it does. I would never say it feels like a logical progression, but you are in that space and you're already working.
We're already there. That's the thing.
Are smart appliances part of this? I mean, I know I've got a network connected thermometer that I use from time to time on the grill. And is that part of your offering now?
Nothing appliance-wise that we sell within those packages I would consider smart. So the grill doesn't have any sort of automation or smart features. It has some cool bells and whistles of lighting, like the knobs, like you can press a few buttons and the knobs will light up. So I don't know if you've done this before, but I've turned the grill or I've pulled the food off and I've said, okay, I'm going to burn all the grease and fat off. So I turn it way up high and then I walk away thinking, I'm going to come back 5 minutes later. Never set an alarm, come back an hour, tank's empty. And I'm like, man, that grill is just burned to a crisp now. So they actually have knobs and lighting knobs on there that will tell you if it's on or not. So I can visibly look back and be like, okay, that grill is still on. So I need to go turn it off.
You know, this leads to an interesting conversation because in the future, 5 years, 10 years, whatever, if it plugs into electric, it most likely will be on the internet.
It's a little scary. I don't know that I want my grill data being.
Yeah,
We knew what you had for dinner.
that's reality.
So this was an interesting category for me too when I started running through this, but thinking about talking about outdoor environmental controls. I mean, we're not air conditioning the outdoor space typically, but we kind of are. So depending on the part of the country, I've seen heaters, I've seen fans, I've seen misters, I've seen motorized canopies, I've seen motorized bug screens and motorized enclosures for screen porches. Are you seeing much of this in your projects? Are you installing any of this? Are you designing any of this? And Nick, it's probably on your roadmap, right?
Yep, definitely on the road. I want to say heaters and shades are on either the 2025 or like 2026 list, but misters are definitely something we looked into, maybe more in Houston. There's mosquito spray solutions, almost like a misting solution that does the exact same thing, except it's spraying some sort of like environmentally friendly chemical that keeps mosquitoes away. For Houston, that is huge.
That's a big
right?
deal.
Yeah.
Really, the only thing on that slide is the shades, the outdoor shades. Our license wouldn't allow us to do misters or the heaters in St. Louis. Once again, very heavily regulated.
Fire and water features sort of follow onto that. I've seen, again, a lot of this in the luxury space, a lot of fire pits, a lot of waterfalls, a lot of fountains and things. Is this part of your repertoire yet?
Water, you might have stumped me. Water features, I don't think is on the board.
That's for the pool guys, right?
It's for the pool guys, which pools are on the board. So I don't know if that'll be anywhere in the near future.
Pools are on your list.
Yeah, pools were definitely up there on a design board at one point, but water features probably not. However, fire pits and smokeless fire pits, we do have an option now that can be selected that they can. Now it's a giant cast concrete fire pit, real similar to that one in the top right, just less the water feature. It's a wood burning pit, so that way you're not having to run a gas stub out to it or anything like that. But it's a very elegant looking piece.
And it's been popular?
We just started it.
Okay.
So it meets a certain price point. It's probably not for your production buyer. It's more for the luxe custom space, but I want to say that it's in one or two of the models that we did those outdoor kitchens for. But it does look really cool. It is a very beautiful piece.
Yeah, it does. Really, the only thing that we would control on any of that is the lighting of it. That's it. Maybe temperature on a pool, but for the most part, a lot of the plumbing stuff in our market just won't integrate.
Outdoor structures. I've seen a lot of these lately, sort of prefabricated or custom built pergolas. I've seen with motorized louvers. I've seen it with built-in speakers. I've seen built-in TV mounts. I've seen integrated fans. I've seen integrated heaters. Are you starting to see these popping up in your projects?
Definitely. It's probably more of an aftermarket option for us. And then to be clear, we don't have a certified option that we're going forward or solution for this, but it's on the board. But I would, if I had to guess, this would probably be more something that is sold after the fact rather than through construction. I would imagine builders wouldn't necessarily want to, wrap pergolas into the cost of a production home, but I can be wrong on that, But there's a desire for it for sure.
Yeah, we really don't see any of the pergolas so much. We see more of the traditional, outdoor covered deck and covered porch more than anything.
So now I want to get in, shift gears a little bit and start talking about selling and marketing your services to the buyers, how you work with builders, how you work with homeowners, and any other people you work with in the process. So we're going to get through some of these options. Tony, I think I've got some slides of your showroom, but I would love you to sort of talk about your approach to this.
Well, when it comes to the selling and marketing, one of my big roles is I have relationships with all the different directors of marketing for all the different builders. So it really comes down to what they need. We have in our selection meetings specific pages that are kind of tied to each builder, their logos, everything else of what comes with the house. And from there, options are general across the board. We do have a really nice, it's like a home buyer guide that you can download on our website. It's PDF. We have, printed versions for homeowners. So we like to educate without going too far into detail because, you can get lost in the details in our industry. We'll go in, work with, make sure, the marketing is in all the display homes, make sure that they have it on their website. We do a lot of social marketing or social media where we'll go in, take pictures of jobs we've done or jobs we're doing in each subdivision, make sure the builder's kind of tagged to them, make sure the subdivision is tagged to them, give the builder as much call outs as we do for ourselves because we're partners. That's the idea. Everything we do in construction, we do it as a partnership.
I'll just add to that. So we have what we would call room by room selling. So our design centers or our showrooms are set up to flow like an actual house. Walk in, maybe you're in the living room, things like that, move to a bedroom, move to a closet. And then specifically for outdoor, we actually have a space dedicated to, that's quite literal turf on the ground with maybe a faux patio and then a backdrop of a golf course or something like that, where we have TVs on the walls, speakers in the ceiling, outdoor kitchen, things like that. So people can actually visualize, okay, what is it like to sit on my patio and, have my grill going, TV going, fan going, etc.
So do you find that it's more successful or necessarily better, but that your process is more about guiding them through individual systems, or is it more of a individual products or an overarching system approach? What's your take on how to present these things without overwhelming a buyer?
Yeah, we got to dance around that a lot because there are national players that have their specific products that they are requiring us to use, and there's nothing wrong with that. So we have to do the dance of experiential selling. We can't buy or get the buyer to buy into a specific product. We need to get them to buy into a feeling of, hey, what is it like to sit down in your home or media room and play a movie, rather than let's look at this cool Epson projector and these cool Origin acoustic speakers and things like that, because, this builder might not allow it, or this builder has a different product. So now if they ask those questions, which they do, our tech consultants can speak to that. But it's different than a product selling or a product offering. It's more of, this is what it feels like to have an automation go on, or this is what it feels like to be on your patio, to, grill out and drink a beer.
That's very important because when you look at the house being built and the process of picking out everything's about what it looks like. We are the first ones that ask a homeowner, how do you live in this space? How do you live in this house? And it's a question that they just don't get during the rest of the design process.
Well, I think the new home sales counselors, they do it as well. It's just so funny. They fall into the trap of, they're trying to, explain technology, and they, shy away from it because they want to talk about the gigabits and the data and the, whatever it is. And I'm like, no, just back up. Like, you know what it's like to sit down in front of, in your patio and watch the sunset while your, kids are playing in the backyard. Communicate that. All what we're trying to do, selling homes, selling, technology, it's just communicating a story that everyone can really buy into.
I think it's interesting. We talked about this yesterday too, how much tech is sort of interwoven into these products and services that we're sort of doing already. So it's in our appliances, it's in our outdoor kitchens, it's in our light fixtures, it's in essentially almost every part of the house at this point. And it is a difficult story to tell. So I think it's interesting to talk to you about how you present these options, again, without overwhelming a client. I think there's sometimes, at least in my experience, people will eventually shut down when they're overwhelmed with choices. So as we go through this, maybe keep that in mind. Maybe talk about how you keep that from happening, how you prevent that from happening, sort of limiting decisions, but giving them good options at the same time.
Well, what we do is we run them through the showroom just so they have an idea that, hey, you can do whatever you want. When we sit down into our conference rooms, we have the actual technology package from the builder, what they're providing. And we go over all those features and what it does. And then from there, we just kind of go room by room on their floor plan. How are you trying to live here? How are you trying to live there? And we make the conversation about their needs in each room. And then that way we kind of shut out the white noise of everything they just saw, because they do see a lot, and then really focus more about how they are expecting this house to work for them. If it's, I expect to be able to, access Wi-Fi throughout the house. Okay, great. Here's what comes with the house. This is what you're going to have to add. Or if it's, I want to be able to control all the lights in my room. Great. Here's what comes with the house. Here's what you're going to have to add.
So when one of your partners changes, something totally unrelated to what you would offer, whether it's a thermostat or et cetera, do you have to then go back in and make sure that you're updating your boards, or
Yep.
you just staying in constant communication with your partners to?
Well, we had one it's the Consort Homes one. That's that bottom, the left picture, the bottom right one. They chose a brand that went under. And so we had to kind of re-engineer the package with something else. At that point, they just kind of didn't say anything and let me pick what I wanted, because I knew what was going to work. Removed it and just put on the new one and just kept going.
So what I hear you saying is the last 4 years, you've probably changed those boards out a lot.
No, one time. That was the only time.
Well, that's cool.
We outside of Fisher Homes, every other one is a local builder.
Okay.
So I have a lot more leeway than a national builder.
Gotcha.
Okay. They lean on me as the expert to figure out what's going to work best for not only their customers, but also their processes. Fisher's the only one that kind of dictates, we're going to do this, 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 this. And if they make a change, that board gets changed.
Cool.
When I was prepping for this, I took some liberties and I tried to play around with what I would think about doing if I were in your seat and I was selling to high volume builders. And I really wanted to get your take, not just on these ideas. These are, partially me and partially AI, if I'm in full disclosure here. But just having the idea of how to, I really thought we've got this laundry list of products and services that we sell. Sometimes they interact with each other, sometimes they don't. It seems a little bit daunting and overwhelming trying to figure out how to package this and bundle this so it makes sense. It's affordable. It's something we can sell and market. It's something that brings value to the house. It's something a builder can put into their marketing efforts, whether it's their brochures, their websites, their model homes, their design centers, and make it a little bit easier to digest. So I want to get your take on not the ideas per se, but just the concept of doing things this way. Is this something you do now?
Really love the glow and flow package.
All right, thanks. That wasn't mine. That was AI, but I love it too.
Cool. We are very package centric. So, however, I will say that we like to offer both, right? So when you go to Chick-fil-A, Starbucks is a great example. If you go to Starbucks, I don't know if, I'm sure people went to Starbucks this morning. If you look at their menu, there's like 10 or 12 items on there. It's not very many, but the amount of combinations of drinks they can make is endless. And if you ask them to make whatever drink, they can still make it. So we try to take the same approach where we have a small group of offerings that we like to showcase or show off. But if the buyer wants to just add a couple drops, they can do that. So, to your point, we probably name them a little different, but we have the same approach to where we're saying, hey, here's the feel of this package. This is what you're going to get with this. This is what it's going to, do. This is how you're going to experience it. Get their response, or based on how they entertain or live within their homes, they might not need the package. They might just need a couple drops here and there, and that's okay, but it's all based on what the client needs versus what they can see and put in their house necessarily.
Yeah, we do the same thing. I mean, every category we're in, we do have a couple different packages.
Do you put names on the package?
We do, but they're not anything
like the
fun like that. No, those are very creative. But we do the packages, we offer the a la carte, and then we also offer custom design because our builders will allow it. So it really becomes whatever the homeowner feels they need, they can get.
Yeah.
We'll say our outdoor kitchen packages we did name after, I want to say, either state parks or some sort of geographical features in Texas, like the Palo Duro is one of them, or the Big Bend or something like that. So there are some packages that we offer that have kind of an artsy flair feel to the naming scheme, but yeah.
Well, I think that, at least in my experience in looking at model homes, there's often a name for a design package where a builder's going to pick out flooring and cabinets and countertops and colors and things, and they have got I think you almost need to name that so it has a feel that it's a cohesive element of the home as opposed to a series of random pieces put together. Yeah, so I do like the idea of this. I think it gives you a bit of a marketing angle that you may not ordinarily have or otherwise have.
Yeah.
To tell a story that you're trying to tell without having to tell it with a box full of electronic components and cables and pre-wires and what have you.
The only downside to that is, everybody's got their own opinion, and someone might look at that and say, well, I don't like the Sunset Supper Club. That reminds me of a terrible supper club, experience that I had, for whatever reason, they're like, I'm going to kill that. And so we try not to go with that, always. We keep it more just very basic package. And if the builder wants to put a name on it, we can code it differently in our system. That's no problem, but we're very flexible to whatever our partners need.
Yeah, ours are kind of boring too. It's just basic what it is kind of thing. 3 rooms of music, advanced network, whatever.
But really, it's just about leveraging relationships with your partners, whether it's the builder leveraging the relationship with the integrator leveraging a relationship with a vendor or manufacturer of these products to sort of market and sell these things. I mean, this goes across the gamut of, event-based marketing, affiliate marketing, social media. What are you seeing works in terms of generating interest in these products and generating sales, not just of your products, but maybe inspiring more people to look at these model homes and these builders you're working with?
Yeah, I would say there's probably 2 or maybe 3 things. One, just our showroom and how bought in we get the sales team, the new home sales counselors bought into that vision. So, in order to do that, usually it's, again, storytelling, going to the sales counselors and doing a training and asking them about, hey, what is it like to pick your current low voltage selections? How much do you love that? That's a loaded question, right?
Oh, yeah.
They hate it. So at that point, that opens opportunity for us to tell them, okay, well, we do love doing that, and here's what we can do for you. And so if we can get the sales counselor to tell a story about us being the experts in this field, and the buyer gets this awesome appointment where they get to really interact and design their home from an entertainment perspective, there's a lot of value in that. There's a lot of perceived value in that as well. And so it really starts with getting sales counselors bought in, getting the builders bought into that vision. Once they're there, you can layer in different marketing pieces. At the end of the day, those are just tools to kind of handrails to guide the buyer through that process. But ultimately, we see it as if we get the sales counselors bought in or construction bought into it, then everything else is kind of falling into place at that point.
The one thing we've had a lot of success with the directors of marketing, with the builders, and also their sales managers, is they come in and we put them through, basically a mock experience.
Yep.
So they get to see exactly what their customers see. And when you do that, you have a higher level of comfort. And now it's like, oh yeah, I had a good experience. Now I see what my homeowners see. So when they get to talk about it with, their prospective customers, It's like, you're going to go here, you're going to get this, they're going to take you through this tour, they're going to demo this. And so that's one of the biggest things we do. Anytime one of our builder partners has any kind of an open house, we make sure that the music is really good. We make sure all the entertainment of it's working. We usually will have a representative, or they're usually the account manager, will be out there on the Saturday, just, answering questions, things like that. We do like to have a lot of events. We'll do yearly events, whether it's a Music Matters event. We're thinking about doing a Movies Matter event. We bring our builder partners in. They can bring some of their favorite clients, things like that, favorite customers, because they're our clients too. It's usually invite only. So they feel a little special and get a free night of food and drinks, and then just demos with different vendors, demos with, on some of the higher end products that they might not be able to afford. But doesn't mean they can't enjoy them while they're there.
I saw AR on there, so we actually have VR set up in our showrooms, so that way they can, it started with, hey, what does it look like to design your media room or sit in a media room with the VR goggles on? And so we would quite literally, if a buyer came in with, the Brinley plan that has a media room in it, we can put those dimensions into this space and actually put them as if they were sitting in that media room in their new home. And we saw take rates on turnkey media room packages literally double across the state when we started doing that. So it was a very impactful tool in terms of presenting the options available.
Well, you said you do a lot of events, Tony. Do you do events in the models? Do you try and drive traffic into the model homes by presenting technology and having a sort of tech night?
No, typically they're in our showroom. But we'll do a, Consort Homes night or a Lombardo night, or, if they want to do, our builders want to do like movie night for their employees, they can come into, our store. We'll throw up, 180-inch screen, all the seating, whatever, and they can just have a little corporate event right there.
Everybody's information's up here. If you happen to be in Texas or St. Louis and need an integrator, a couple of good guys up here on this panel. Thank you.